Good afternoon, and surprise, you have Real Talk on a Friday night. Surprise, just a pop-up show just out of nowhere. I know you guys aren't accustomed to seeing us on a Friday night, but hey, that's what we do here at Status Network. We just keep you guessing. So, of course, I am King Arthur, as you can see from my hat right there, because I forget my name a lot. So that's why I put it on my hat. And I'm hanging out today with the insurance professional, Mr. Cornell McBride.
What's going on, man?
What's going on?
Good
Thanks
to see
for
you,
coming
man.
out. Good to see you.
Been a long time in the making.
I was about to say, we seem like we've seen each other months ago.
We did.
But when I tell you that this show, even if you don't have pen and paper now to take notes, you will absolutely have to keep coming back and taking more notes. It's just in the brief telephone conversation that Cornell and I had this morning, I learned stuff about insurance, life insurance, that I didn't even know about. So when I tell you that this show is going to be mind-boggling, it's going to help you with some investments and all kinds of other stuff, get your mind right. That's all I'm going to tell you. So, again, long time in the making.
Yes.
We've been working on this for a moment.
Months now, yeah.
And why September?
You know, it's awesome because September is Life Insurance Awareness Month. So I think this is a God thing right here.
Right.
We get to come in, and we're going to put this disclaimer out real quick. We are going to ruffle some feathers in this conversation. I'm not going to say any names, but they're going to know when I talk about certain situations, they're going to be like, he's talking about me.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And the reason I'm going to put that out there is because if people don't start taking seriously how this tool works, how life insurance is supposed to work, they're not going to get it. Their parents didn't get it and talk to them about it. Their grandparents didn't talk to them about it. You're going to mess around, and if you go from your grandparents to your kids, that's 4 generations that missed out on an opportunity to transfer wealth from one person to another. And that's where we're losing. We're losing.
I know. And when we spoke earlier, I mentioned that a lot of us have just enough life insurance to bury yourself, whereas people who figured it out, they intend to leave a legacy, a financial legacy. They intend to leave something for their children's children, and not just, well, I get, funeral costs about $7,500 to $10,000. I got a $10,000 life insurance policy, baby. No, that's not gonna do it. What's gonna happen when the first of the month roll around and those bills are due, and you're no longer there to provide?
That's it. That's it exactly.
So I know earlier, before we actually went live, you were sharing with me some staggering numbers about investing, and if you wanted to have $1 million saved at 10%, and you started at 25 all the way up, and those numbers were just off the charts, the older we got.
Yeah. So I've got this right now. It's pulled up on. I'm going to share these also on our Facebook page and also on yours.
Okay.
So one of the illustrations is, it's called the high cost of waiting. So if a person at 25 years old decided they wanted to have $1 million in savings at age 65, they'd have to start at 25, saving $179 a month. Now we're using the interest rate of 10% throughout all these illustrations. So at 25 years old, $179 a month. That's less than $50 a week.
Right.
Most people are spending that eating out.
Exactly.
So if you spend $100 eating out, cut it in half, be a millionaire.
From 25 to 65.
Yep. From
$179 a month, and I'll have $1 million in the bank at 65.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right. So now, if you wait 5 years and you start saving at 30,
right,
it goes from $179 a month to $292 a month.
Wow.
So over you almost doubled your price. Yeah, you doubled it $100. So
right,
it's $179 to $292.
Right.
If you wait from 30 years of age to 40 years of age, it goes to $805 a month.
$805 that you would have to save, not touch.
Save, not touch. That's the thing. Save, not touch.
Wow.
Now, think about that.
Wow.
Think about how many people are going to go in that $805.
Right.
Trip coming up, cell phone bill due.
Exactly.
Cable about to get cut off.
Need a new car.
Need a new car. Need some of that down payment money.
Exactly.
So at 40 years of age, $805 a month. At 45 years old, now I'm going to use me as an example here. So at 45 years old, I'm 46. I would have to start saving $1,380 a month.
Untouched.
Untouched. It don't mean now. Think about this. How many people may do that even for a year? Had that almost $15,000 sitting there, and then decide they're gonna go buy something.
Yep.
That's start all over.
That's me. I do that.
Yep. And that's what most people do. Most people can't save $1,300 a month. Most people aren't even saving $100 a month.
Right.
So.
And it seems like when you're saving, and I'm only speaking for me. I'm 45.
Oh, this is perfect.
Exactly. I'm at that 40, so I need $1,300 if I want to. $1,380 a month just to get to $1 million
for 20 more years.
But I'm talking like month 2, maybe month 3. You're like, ooh, I gotta have those. I gotta. Man, they came out with these Jordans again. I got it's gonna be something that's pulling you to try to get you to do, and that's $1,380 a month at age 45. Untouched.
Can't touch it. Not tied up in a 401k, not tied up in anything else. You're talking about
that's just saving
over there
10%, something that's going to yield a 10% investment return on your investment.
Absolutely, and because most people lack the discipline to save, it's going to be almost impossible. If they started, now here's the thing: if they started at 25 and started saving this money, by the time they're at 45, they develop the behavior, the discipline.
It's already there.
It's there. Boom. Matter of fact, they're probably doing more than that.
I was about to say it's probably coming out of their check, and they're not even missing it at this point.
Absolutely. So now check this out. From age 45 to age 50, it goes from $1,380 to $2,490 per month.
Wow. That hurts to even think about.
$2,500 a month.
Wow.
$30,000 a year. Can't touch it.
Can't touch it at all.
Can't touch it. Now, this is the one that I just think it's so outrageous that average person.
Yeah, you got to be making that kind of money to even put away that kind of money.
Absolutely. So at age 60, so we'll talk about those people that we see greeting people at the stores.
Yep, smiling.
$12,960 per month. For 5 years at 10% would get them to $1 million in savings.
Wow.
So when we talk about the high cost of saving,
people
don't understand. I don't think people, especially in our community, I don't think people showed us the big picture. I don't think anybody came to us at 25 years old and said, I know you got a good job here, you got some benefits, you're starting a family.
Right.
If you start putting away $50 a week, that at 65 you'll be a millionaire.
Right.
I don't think any of us have ever seen that in our family.
Right.
With our cousins, with our friends.
Right.
So we feel like it's just something being said.
Right.
It's like, that sounds cool, but I can't see it happening. So therefore, I'm not going to do it.
Right.
I think that's one of the problems we see when. The other thing is, I don't think people really go into our community with the intention of teaching us financial education. I mean, it's hard enough for our own people to go in our community because we know how hard it is to deal with our own people.
We do not trust us at all. We can have all the degrees on the walls,
all of them,
tie, and we still gonna be skeptical. How do I know that's a legitimate degree?
Yeah, and Bernie Madoff got everyone.
He got everyone.
Isn't it crazy? Think about his last name. Madoff.
he made
Isn't that crazy?
With millions.
Billions. $75 billion.
Wow. And because of the Bernie Madoffs and all of those guys, even in the corporate structure nowadays, we have SOX compliance and all kinds of other things now to make sure that companies can be publicly viewed, their records can be open at any time because
there's crooks out there.
People have been taken, for so long.
Yeah, absolutely. So now I feel like my crusade now is education first. I don't think people value what they don't understand.
Right.
And I'm 46, so at 43 years old, I had my first conversation with someone about the financial service industry at all.
Right.
Which is crazy to me because I'm like, man, 43 years old? Really took that long? And it's crazy because I'm like, why didn't I notice at 18? Why didn't I know it at 21, 25, 30, 35, 40?
Right.
It was just not. Nobody's presenting it to us enough. I think it's one of those things where you have to be in an environment where you're used to hearing about it. And they say that you have to hear about something 7 or 8 times before you actually start to take initiative.
Right.
We need to have that conversation every day. Somebody needs to be talking about being about financial education every single day.
Now, the good thing, I think, and this is eye opening, and I think a lot of things we're going to touch on is definitely going to step on some toes. Not necessarily in a bad way, but to get your attention so that you realize what we're not doing. Because I'm in this same boat. And even when Cornell and I spoke earlier, I've always been of the mindset, like, you know, I'm at the post office. I got my life insurance through my job. It's 5 times my base salary. So if I go, I'm going to leave about 300 plus. I'm good. But the illustration we spoke about earlier, let's just say hypothetically, I got a $300,000 life insurance policy. Mm-hmm. And I have a $250,000 mortgage payment. That is, the mortgage is still owed on $250,000. And I die, and I leave my loved ones with $300,000. The first thing they're gonna probably want to save or do, or you would think, is let's pay off the house. So now that big chunk of that $300,000 is already gone. So that's leaving them with $50,000, and that's not counting what they're gonna spend on the funeral. That's gonna cut more into that. And now I'm gone, so my income isn't coming in every month. But we don't think about it in that sense when we're getting life insurance. We just think that, hey, our loved one is going to have a couple $100,000. I'm not here anymore. I don't have to worry about it. They'll figure it out. So what's the downside to that, or continuing to think like that and continuing to procrastinate? I'll do it next year. I'll do it next month. Because we know death is certain. It's coming.
Right.
But we can't predict when it's coming. You know, but a lot of us act like, and I'm guilty of it myself. I feel like I'm going to live forever. I'm not going anywhere. I'll check out about 95, 103.
You're a black man in the United States.
Yeah, black man in America. I'm going to live to 103. I'm dodging cop bullets and everything. I'm going to
I'm going to put you on the spot now. Y'all, we're going to go, since we live and it's real talk.
It's real talk. We got to do it.
How long you been at the post office?
21 years.
When did you retire?
At least I'll be eligible in 10.
Now, does that $300,000 of life insurance stay when you retire?
No. When you retire, to my understanding now, I don't know the specifics, but when you retire, you can opt to continue paying into the policy. But from talking to friends who've retired, it starts to decrease or something as they get older. So you can either opt in to pay a lesser amount, and it's going to be much lower than what you have right now. I mean, and I think from talking to one of my buddies, after maybe 5 or 10 years of being retired, it caps at like $12,500. It's something crazy.
Yeah, it's final expense by
right, right. At that point, it's like, wow, you know. So a lot of people retire and think they're walking away with, I'm good, I'm protected, we're going to go on all of these trips, when retirement is not the time to stop investing. You know, you still have to keep it going. And in most cases, most people retire and find themselves having to get a second job, not just because they're bored or it's something fun that they want to do, but they're working because they have to work, not just to have something to do.
That's it. Exactly. So you said you could retire in how many years?
10 on paper.
All right. So you got to imagine this. So I'll use you as an example. So $300,000, is that enough insurance for you and your family?
Oh, absolutely. Now that I know what I know.
Right.
Now, earlier this morning, I would have said, sure, that's enough.
Right.
Now I'm like, man, I'm at least $700,000 short.
Right.
You have to factor in, you know, children. You have to factor in my case,
how old are your children?
Grandkids, and my kids are older, like
you look good, man. I thought you was 45.
Yes.
Superhero.
But I got a 7-year-old grandson, and I got a 1-week-old grandson. So you don't think about it in the sense of, okay, what happens when, now if their parents do the right thing and they have college funds set aside, that's great. But it's still also nice to have something there in case they need it years down the road. And it's not something that, you know, I hope they get this scholarship, because if they don't, you're not going to college.
Yeah, because that's one of the reasons why life insurance can be so valuable. Like if I say to you, trust fund kid, what do you picture?
I picture someone.
What they look like?
Oh, definitely not. They don't look like us.
So trust fund kid. What does it look like to you? Go ahead and describe it.
For me, young, white male or female, anywhere between 18 and 30. Nowadays, 18 to 25, maybe, Mm-hmm. But they really don't, from my perspective outside looking in, they don't have anything to worry about. They're not necessarily, if they do a job, it's normally something they love, or they go to college for something they love. Mm-hmm. We tend, or at least people in my circle or my community growing up, we tend to choose majors off of something we love, but that can also make a lot of money, because we've been programmed to think that you get a good job, make a lot of money, you live happily ever after,
yeah.
Married, dog, picket fence, all of that good stuff.
How's that working out for y'all?
Yeah, still looking for it.
That's that 40-40-40 plan.
Exactly.
Work 40 years, 40 hours a week to live off of 40%. Like, how you going to work that long and live off of 40%?
40%.
You can live off 40% now.
Exactly.
That's crazy. So one of the things like that I would do with you if I was sitting with you and your family, when we talk about trust fund kids, it's like I always ask people, why couldn't your kid be a trust fund kid? Why can't we leave them $1 million?
Right.
Why couldn't we? Because when we say trust fund, we don't put a dollar amount on it. We just assume that whatever they got, it came from somewhere else.
Exactly.
So, that's my thing. Like, why couldn't your grandkids be trust fund kids?
Right.
So let me ask you this: you've got how many sons or daughters?
One son, 3 daughters. We're gonna say. We'll say an even 4.
All right, so an even 4.
Yes.
So as they started going through high school, getting older, would you agree that the conversations were pretty much like this? As you get older, I want you to do good in school. I want you to stay out of trouble. And for your daughters, don't get pregnant.
Exactly.
For your son, please don't get nobody pregnant.
Right.
Right? Get out of school, go to college, get a good job, and, live a good life.
Right.
How many of those kids have you had a conversation about money, how money works?
Oh, none.
See, that's...
And the same thing happened to us. The same
Exactly.
thing happened to our parents. Yeah. And the same thing happened before that.
That's it. And that's the crusade. I tell people, I met with this, I talked to this lady on the phone a little while, probably about a couple weeks ago. 77 years old, on the phone, me, her, and her daughter was 50 in her 50s. Mm-hmm. And the one who was 77 had a policy that lapsed. The policy that she got never should have even been sold at 65. You shouldn't be sold a term policy at 65 years old when you're that close to living 15, 20 years. But so our policy was lapsing. Now it's going to cost too much money. She wanted to spend $100 a month for $10,000.
Right.
And she didn't want to spend it. I said, well, if you don't spend it between you and your daughter, when something happens and you're already 77, now she's got to borrow money from people that don't have it.
Right.
She's got to go to GoFundMe.
Right.
She's got to be embarrassed, or she's got to give you a very cremation.
Yeah.
Mama wanted to be cremated. All of a sudden,
right.
$2,000.
No one else knew about it. But now all of a sudden, Mama
that's what she told me before she died.
Right.
And I told her, I said, look, well, since you can't go back and tell you can't go back and get a policy now, and the one that you have has lapsed. I said, let me ask you this: what conversation have you had with your daughter about money? And she said the same thing. I taught her to go to school, get good grades,
right,
stay out of trouble, don't get pregnant.
Right.
So now I asked her when it's in her 50s on the phone, I said, let me ask you something. What did you discuss with your kids?
Right.
Same exact thing. Go to school.
Wow.
Get good grades. Don't get pregnant. Get a good job. And for her son, don't get anybody pregnant, stay out of trouble.
Right.
I said, now look, y'all, we're talking about 4 generations right here. Not one single generation has talked to the other generation about how money works. I'm like, do you all see how big of a problem that is? If all we do is tell our kids to go to school, get good grades,
right,
go to school, go to college, now they're in debt.
Right.
They go to college
on some student loans that they probably didn't have to take on.
And it's like, dude, it's like, like you said, what if they don't get the full scholarship? The schools are counting on you, hoping that you don't.
Right.
Now you go into school and the first thing you see is Chase, Wells Fargo,
they're gonna start
JP Morgan. Yeah, they're going to give you the credit card. So now you're stuck with credit card debt and student loans your first day at school.
Right.
And what you're going to do is you're going to be in your 40s and your kids are going to be going to go to college. And in 2038, you're going to be telling them the exact same thing.
Yep. And they're going to repeat that same vicious cycle.
And now 200 years from now, we're trying to figure out why we're in the same boat.
Right.
That's what we got to work on.
Wow. And that's to me, that was eye-opening in itself. And I think, like with our parents or with our grandparents, we never, as everything was passed down, we never changed the model. You know,
right?
Because to them, a $10,000 life insurance policy in the 40s or 50s would go a whole lot further than it would go now. Mm-hmm. So instead of us tweaking it and saying, well, you know, we got to account for inflation, or if, like you mentioned earlier, with the older person who was sold a term policy, and we were joking earlier, but seriously joking, that when you buy a term policy, meaning you're buying into an insurance policy for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, the longer the better, because your price is going to stay the same. Mm-hmm. But that's meant to, when you're younger, middle age, and you're supposed to buy term because it's cheaper, and you're meant to invest the difference. Like, if I can pay $100 a month because, and probably not even that much, but $100 a month, let's say at whatever age, as opposed to paying $200 a month, I should take the extra $100 and either save it, put it in a mutual fund. Savings, of course, is going to pay you peanuts on interest, but mutual funds or something that's going to continue to generate more interest, compound interest, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But what we do is we pay the $100, and now I'm going to spend the extra $100 because I'm going to start saving next month.
Yeah.
And then next month never comes.
Yep.
And we continue doing it, and then we find ourselves almost at the end of a term policy and haven't invested anything, whether in real estate or any type of securities, and now we're stuck, and it's like, oh, well, I'll just get another term policy. Well, now that $100 policy might cost you $300.
Yeah, your health has changed.
Exactly. Your health has changed.
You didn't gain 40 pounds.
And if you've had any major health concerns or ailments at that point, now you may not even be able to get insured.
Uninsurability.
Right, depending on the severity of it. Mm-hmm. So I think it's definitely a conversation that needs to be had. Why do you think that in America, the home of the free, supposedly,
land of the brave,
exactly, that we always talk about competing with the Chinas and competing with Japan and everyone else and on this technological type level, but we haven't figured it out yet that we aren't teaching financing in schools to get our kids started early. You know, you think they want to keep it as an exclusive club, or
absolutely,
you know, because if everybody's doing
it, so I tell people, think about this. If you go back 150, 200 years, mm-hmm. it was illegal to teach a slave how to read.
True.
It was illegal to teach us how to write. All they wanted you to do was to be able to go out there and work.
Right.
You don't need to be able to read or write.
Right.
You don't need to be able to read or write to pick this cotton.
Right.
To work these crops. Right. That's all you needed.
And it was the same way even with they didn't want them to read, and they also didn't really want to teach them Christianity either.
Absolutely.
For that same reason, because they would get some sense of hope that, hey, we're going to see through this. We're going to come out on the other side. So
absolutely,
those two coupled together.
And think about and when you look at our history, look at how strong we are. Look at how religious we are as a people, because that's what gave people hope. Like we talked about it earlier. There was Africans were enslaving Africans.
Right.
In Africa. You go to South America, you had Indians enslaving Indians. You could go over to Europe. The whole thing about slaves, peasants, whatever you want to call them, that's just been a part of history.
Right.
Period. If you look at the Egyptians, they had slaves. You go back thousands of years ago, after Adam and Eve had kids, there's always somebody on the lower end of the totem pole that's got to do work. The problem with us is now that it's 2018, segregation's been over 50, 60 years.
Right.
Civil rights stuff has been over. Now, we still fighting for civil rights.
Exactly.
But there's no reason today that if a guy that wants to be a producer can go online and figure out how to be a producer and teach himself music. He can teach himself how to play a piano, teach himself how to play a keyboard, teach himself how to play drums, that we can't go online and teach ourselves about how money works.
Right.
Thank you, Holy Spirit. That was
right on time.
Yeah.
Just dropped it right
That's
in.
it. But, and you know, and that's been my thing. I want to learn, and believe me, we don't want to look at my bank account. I tell people now, it's a work in progress. It's under construction.
Right.
But I'm not going to stop while I'm learning. I'm not going to stop from sharing the information that I'm learning on the largest scale I can. Like for the number of people that are on Facebook or Instagram, social media, there have been people that will see this and will be like, I didn't know that.
Right.
Boom. Good. That's what we want to do. I'm sitting here with King Arthur, and that's why it's real talk.
Yeah, let's spark that conversation.
We got to have the conversation. And the other
take
thing
the
is
action. That's one thing to talk about, because we'll talk for days. People like, boy, you know they got this problem. I invest in this real estate. I'm about to flip this. And 3 years later, we're still talking about it. We are not taking the action.
And then you're older, and then it's not something that's that important to you. So, like for you, now I'm gonna put this on y'all. So look, so now that we've identified a problem here,
exactly,
man, you got to work on a solution.
Right, absolutely.
And here's the thing, you guys. People feel like their job is always going to be there.
True.
You feel like the post office ain't going nowhere.
Ain't going nowhere.
I'm gonna get this $300,000. But here's the thing: whatever you're paying now, when you leave the post office, when you retire, whatever you're paying is probably going to cost you 5 to 8 times what you're paying right now.
Wow.
It could be $50 a month.
Right.
It's like people in the military. You know, when you're younger in the military.
Yes.
That SGV, LI and that VGLI life insurance, like when you're in your 30s and 20s, it's cheap. Yep. It goes up every 5 years. By the time, if you're starting off with $400,000 and you're younger and you're in the military, you're paying about $100 a month, a little bit less. Yep. By the time you get 50, 55, and you're looking at getting out, it goes up between $800 and $1,200 a month.
Exactly.
Now you're in your 50s, your health has changed. Your insurability has changed. You may have had cancer, heart attack, stroke, diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. Now you need a policy, but you really can't afford it because now of all your health issues. So now you're sitting here. Now you got to say, all right. So now I don't have the life insurance that I need to leave my family. Mm-hmm. I don't have it in the years that I needed the most. The best I can do is get a final expense policy that I can afford for $25,000 to $35,000. Right. But and then you didn't save while you was in the military, so you didn't save, you didn't invest, or you saved and didn't invest, got 1 to 2% interest on your money. Now you're sitting there like, I can't retire.
Right.
I got to keep working.
So now I'm about to walk away from a career and go start another career.
Yep, or a job.
Right.
Because now you're 55 years old.
Yep, no one's going to take that. Well, very few people. Unless you know someone who knows someone who knows someone.
Yeah.
We'll let you walk in the door at 50, 55 years old.
And that's what we want to try to help people avoid. Like, I feel like the more people see conversations like this.
Right.
You know, that's why I dress like this. I'm glad you dress like this.
Right.
Because it doesn't matter what a person dressed like. You know, 20, 30 years ago, the picture, the image of the insurance guy was the old white guy with the salt and pepper hair, the suit tie, and the briefcase.
The briefcase with them.
Let me tell you, if y'all know,
walking through the neighborhood with the little insurance.
That's right.
Policies.
And you know what's crazy? I'm gonna share some information with an article. Like, we talk about the Jim Crow of life insurance. They're in the 20s to 70s or 80s. They were actually going in our community selling us less insurance for more money. Mm-hmm. Like in 2009, there was a huge settlement with companies like American General, John Hancock, where these people paid out almost $400 or $500 million in damages because they had been charging black people more money for life insurance and less premiums.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's crazy. It's just like when we look at the real estate and redlining. I mean, there's so many things and holding us back. But if people don't look this information up, I didn't know that till today, till I knew I was going to be on a show. Right. I actually looked up like an article like, why don't black people buy life insurance?
Right.
And those are the kind of things that you all can do. You have the power right here. Like if you take a break from Facebook or Instagram for 15 minutes, mm-hmm. and just Google something that you may have some problems with as far as pulling the trigger and getting life insurance. Google it. Google it. Find out why other people are having the same issues.
Right.
Because the problem is, we say we love our families and we say we care about our families, but then you hear something like me and him are discussing today, and you're like, yeah, that's me. Yeah, I need to do something differently.
Right.
And you'll talk about that tonight. Tomorrow you'll be talking about going to the lake and barbecuing on Monday, Labor Day,
Exactly.
and you won't think about it anymore.
Exactly.
Yep.
And that is there's so much truth to that. And the flip side of it is when you, we can trace it back to generations of not doing what we're supposed to do. But I'll give you an example. In my English composition class, in my evening class that I take, we read the I Have a Dream speech. That was the assignment for this week. And the question was posed, and the class is a diverse class. Black female, white female, black male. We have an older white male instructor. So a very diverse class. But the question was asked based off of the speech that we read. Are we at a point that we're now achieving what Dr. King was speaking about? Basically, is racism still prevalent, or has it changed? Are we in a better place now? Mm-hmm. And my answer was, on the very first, like on the surface, we're not dealing with water hoses. We're not dealing with the dogs. We're not dealing with sitting in the back of the bus. But on the flip side of that, especially in the political climate that we're in right now, but we're still dealing with debating about Confederate statues and debating about Confederate flags. And when I say we, as black men, as black women, we dislike each other. Well, I don't like Cornell because he's lighter than me. He thinks he's better than me. Or that's not her real hair. Her real hair can't be that long. So have we really progressed? I don't think so, because we're still fighting the same issues, some amongst each other, and some we're still fighting against the system, for lack of a better word. So, but to me, the financial literacy part of it, the insurance part of it, I know some people, and this was me in like early 20s. That's why I was so eager to want to get this show done, right as Life Insurance Awareness Month is about to kick off. I can remember in my early 20s when you work, you get a paycheck, you go buy clothes, you go ball at the club and just act a complete fool. And if I had to make a decision about which bill I was going to pay, I'll pay the car insurance later or something like that. It was always something insurance related that we wanted to put off. Right. And that's normally when you have an accident or something crazy like that. But why do we continue to put ourselves in that situation where we let a policy lapse, or we let it get to a point where we call and now we got to let some other bills go to try to catch it up to keep it from lapsing, and we continuously do the same thing? And it's not a black community specific issue either.
It's a middle class issue,
right? And we were talking
it's a middle class
earlier
issue
about we know the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, is gone, but she died without having a will.
And Prince.
And
Heath Ledger.
Right.
And Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Right. And so it's not race specific. We cannot assume that our family, our loved ones are going to do the right thing. I mean, we see it every day, whether in the media or in our own family. Money changes people. And if it's a matter of me and you splitting $50,000 a piece, or I take the whole $100,000, that brings out all types of craziness in families.
I hear it all the time.
That's what I was going to ask. Do you hear those horror stories?
Man, I hear it all the time. I hear it. I've seen it, but I hear it more often. Or you get this call. You either somebody our age found out a parent sick.
Right.
Call now, my dad just got diagnosed with cancer. Can I go and get some life insurance?
Wow.
Or, yeah.
Through the roof if they assure you it's through the roof.
But I'm like, it's too late for that.
Right.
It's too late for that. Well,
it's more like preventative maintenance on your car.
Yeah.
You don't wait until the transmission tear up.
That's exactly
you
it.
still got to get it serviced along the way to try to keep.
That's exactly it. And this one is I'll get this one too. And this is somebody in my own family. Father is sick.
Okay.
So the 3 kids want to hurry up and get a policy together and chip in and pay for it so that they can get some money back.
Right.
But don't nobody want to pay what it's going to cost to get what they thought they was going to get.
Right.
Like it's like, hey, we'll go ahead and chip in $35, $40 a piece and get Dad a $100,000 policy. Then we can just split that up 35, $32,000,
right.
$35,000 a piece.
Right.
Okay. Well, you can't get that. What it's going to cost you is about $150 a month for $30,000.
Right.
Now you got to pay $150 for $30,000. They're like, that's just too expensive.
Right.
So you missed the whole point. The whole point was he's gonna need somebody's gonna have to pay to bury him.
Exactly.
Nah, we just gonna wait. I'm like, wait on what? What can you possibly waiting for?
If you don't have it now, you're not gonna, and tomorrow's not promised. So
it's crazy. It's crazy, man.
Right.
It's crazy. There's times when I've talked to friends of mine, then I have to go back and look at myself and say, all right, at 43 years old, I had no idea.
I was thinking the same thing.
At 43 years old, I had no idea. So they have no idea. So my thing is now, every 4 or 5 days a week, I'm trying to do what I call now a public service announcement for 60 seconds on Instagram. This is something of value all that you all need to investigate. Like you said, $300,000 is great for right now, but it's not where you need to be.
Exactly.
And it's a term when you leave, the price is going to go up. So if you can't afford that, you might have to cut that in half. But now you're older. Now you're 55.
Right.
The insurance is going to cost you at 55 more. That's if you don't have any health issues between now and 55.
Right.
So you have one health issue that comes back on your medical information bureau, one scare, one heart attack, one stent, one almost stroke, pre-diabetic.
Right.
Now all of a sudden you're going to be paying 2 to 3 times what you might have to pay for $100,000. Now you're like this. I'd just rather save that money.
Right.
And you're not going to be able to invest it anywhere that's going to give you a rate of return instantly.
Right.
So now we've lost the opportunity to do what we know we should have done it earlier, and that's what we have to do now.
Right.
Is figure out how do we reach the kids that are 25, 35 years old, starting families, having kids. How do we get in front of them like platforms like this, and teach them why they have to start saving? Like we have to be able to say, especially with the millennials, hey, if you start saving $50 now, and we can just show them on paper $50 a week.
Right.
Oh, $50 a week, that ain't no problem. And I always tell people prices by the week.
Right.
I don't want to tell you by the week because if I say it's $179 a month, you compare that to every other bill a month.
That's one more. Exactly.
Yeah, that's what they do. Man, that's a half a car note.
Yeah. Then we're gonna round up.
Yeah,
you want me to pay $200 a month?
Right. But then if I said you're gonna die next Monday.
Exactly.
You're going to die next Monday. How much do you want to leave your family? Oh, man, how much can I get?
Exactly.
Okay.
It's Monday. This Monday coming up?
Yeah, this Monday.
One more day.
Labor Day?
Exactly.
Man. And then I asked him, I said, who told you got till next week?
Right.
See, that's what I'm trying my best to get people to understand. Like I drove here from McDonough. Now I pray, I serve God, I'm faithful to my wife, I love my son. But when I get downstairs in that car, I've got to get on the road and on the highway with thousands of other people.
Exactly.
Somebody could be driving a car, coming toward me like one of my clients, and have a heart attack or a stroke. Wow. Or a seizure while he's driving. He swerved and got hit by a semi. He couldn't predict that he was going to have a seizure.
Right.
But it happened. It's not his fault, but it happened.
Right.
The man left behind a wife and 5 kids.
Wow.
But he left her $500,000 of life insurance. So even though he couldn't prevent what happened, even though he couldn't prevent what had happened, even though he was young, he was only like 30 years old, he was still smart enough to say, well, if I'm gonna be building a family, my family's getting bigger, then I at least want to leave them something just in case. Didn't have health issues.
Right.
This just happened.
Wow.
And what I tell people all the time is, look, yo, things just happen.
Right.
Things just happen. I'm a big fan of Miles Monroe.
Mm-hmm.
Big fan of Miles Monroe. And when his plane crashed and kills him, I mean, he is a man of God. It's like, and it happened.
Right.
And it happened. But, I'm sure as I watch his videos every day now, that he had his affairs in order.
Right.
And one thing that you were talking about before is like the number of people that I don't have a will. Like I just signed up with like Legal Shield, so I could go get a will for me, a will for my mom, because here's what happens. Even if you have life insurance, let's say you got married more than once. Which wife is going to get it? If you say my wife gets it, did you change the beneficiary when you got remarried?
Exactly.
Did you have another baby? Did you add the kid to the will? There's so many little things that we have to do that are so simple.
Right.
We just put everything else first. That's what we got to work on.
Right. And it's funny that you mentioned that, because I was telling a buddy of mine and I were talking about a week ago, and I was saying, man, I got a will, but my will got my Ford Explorer on it. And that was like late 90s. So not only is it important to have a will, and with Legal Shield, we can update it for free, once a year, make sure it's updated, make sure everything is tweaked. And I'm like, wow, I absolutely, whether you have the living will for your medical stuff, you
power of attorney, medical directives, DNR.
You may still have that ex-wife, that ex-husband on there listed to make a decision about your life. And you're married and happily ever after with someone else, so to speak.
And that's happened.
Wow.
That's happened.
Amazing.
And you got to imagine a person that gets remarried,
mm-hmm.
has an estate, no matter if it's 50,000, 100,000, 500,000.
Right.
Something happens to you, and your wife is like, man, I'm just glad that we have this in order.
Mm-hmm.
And the ex-wife shows up at court.
Yep.
Now, this right here.
Exactly.
Says he left everything to me.
Now they have to try to challenge or figure out the validity of that document. Do you have one to protect your assets or your interests?
Now you got to go through probate or court, hire lawyers.
Right. And I mean, it is real. And you guys have seen several times my sister in Christ, Shanita, Life with Shanita,
yes,
Life After
yes,
the Rain.
Yes.
Is Your House in Order? Her book absolutely addresses these things. And it's not addressing these things based on theory.
Oh,
she
right.
actually lived through it.
Absolutely.
Unexpectedly, and we can talk about it now and we can smile about it now. But I could remember talking to Shanita's husband, Winston, that Sunday in church, because the deacons and the ministers all sit in a specific area of the church. So we were over there sitting together, and we were talking, and he said, hey, how's everything going? I said, everything's going good. Everything going good. And this is before church started. And he said, all right, I'll be back. I'm going to go ask Cheryl and see how things really going.
Your wife.
So he walks across. He sits there beside Cheryl. They have a conversation. They laugh and talk. And throughout that whole sermon, the entire sermon, because we were like either on the back row or the next to the back row over in that section, and we're high-fiving each other, always a level-headed, calm guy, calm demeanor, do anything for you. And when I found out, it was like a few days later, like maybe that Tuesday, that, he had a massive heart attack. First I heard it like he had a heart attack. So you're like, oh, man, I got to get there to see Winston. And then it wasn't until we ended up speaking to Shanita, or I think a text message blast came out about praying for him and all of this other stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute, life support, I was just with him. He is fit. We're having so to see that firsthand, and a lot of us see those things in our own family, in our own home, even at work with our coworkers, but we still, for whatever reason, because I'm guilty of it again, it's not going to happen to me. It's not my time yet. God's not done with me yet. That's great to say, but like you said, with your buddy who ended up having a seizure and just so happened to swerve in front of a semi, I'm sure he didn't plan that day that, hey, this is going to be my last day and I'm going to drive and have this seizure and swerve in front
Absolutely.
of a semi. So
And Shanita, I think Shanita's story and Rosalind Bishop are probably two of the main reasons why I'm so passionate about this, because they're stories.
Right.
Like when Shanita and I talked, and she told me that she kissed her husband goodnight, and he said he loved her, and that was it. That to me is mind blowing. Like I don't know.
Right.
I don't know what I would do if I woke up in the morning and I knew my wife was gone. I would lose my mind.
Right.
I would lose my mind. But the legacy that he left, the people that love him,
everybody he touched,
man, it's awesome. And you know, he's not an old guy.
No, not at all.
I think he was in his late 40s, maybe.
And he's like
healthy.
He's kind of like me, just playful all the time, just doing crazy stuff. So he's a prankster. And Shanita was like, "Boy, you better quit playing. You know, get up, quit playing, because you know, of course, it was a shock. Yeah, it was a shock for her too. So I'm telling you guys, this is something that we absolutely need to take serious. We're not trying to sell you anything but life and knowledge and getting your finances and getting your house in order, you know. If you have, I know I was fortunate enough to meet you at Shanita's book signing, actually. But do you have any, I know you do a lot of Facebook Lives, and you know, you have your dry erase board and your music playing.
Yeah.
And I like it because, you know, it's more relaxing. It's kind of it's not a, look, this is Life Insurance 101. It's more of a, like, you know, come in, it's festive, and let's check it out. Do you have any of those planned, or are they just impromptu? You just like, hey.
They're impromptu.
Really?
They are. Just like this was.
Right. Just like, hey, what you doing tonight? Nothing. All right, let's do it.
Yeah, if I could do this every day for an hour, I would do it, because it's that important to me.
Right.
I've been in this industry, actually September 24th will be my 3rd year. I celebrate my 3 years in the industry.
Wow.
And the first year, I didn't do anything. You know, I didn't like
years?
3.
I thought you've been doing it much longer than that.
Yeah, the first year I didn't do nothing. Second year, I didn't do nothing. The 3rd year, I believe, having experienced and seen some things, like when my wife lost her mom, watching what they went through, the house and probate, the savings, the cost for the funeral. Her mom was cremated, but that seeing the emotional toll on her sister, her nieces, on her brothers, and I'm sitting there like, my mom is in a nursing home right now, but I know this day is gonna come when I'm gonna have to say goodbye to my mom, and I'm very close. Her quality of life isn't what it was, obviously, 20 years ago, 10 years ago. But when I do those videos, I'm very animated.
Yes.
I love my whiteboard.
Right.
Because I believe that if I put something down in writing in front of you, I believe that first of all, I know that you'll retain the information more.
Yes.
But second of all, I want you all to see, like when I tell somebody, I have a lot of people that call me and say, give me a quote. And most of them will say no.
Yep.
Because I give you a quote, you don't know what it is.
Exactly.
$100,000, $30 a month sounds great, and I'll do posts like that on Facebook to get someone's attention.
Right.
But what I realize is that if I don't sit with you and show you, like if I do a financial needs analysis, I need to sit here with Arthur and say, all right, Arthur, this is why $300,000 is not going to be enough.
Right.
Like if I just say I can get you $500,000 for $20 more a month, you're just like $500,000. Okay, that's a few more dollars.
Right.
But you won't understand the value of it until I say that we're going to bundle this policy with this one over here with this IUL, and what we're going to do with the money in this IUL, since we're just now saving, investing at 45, we're going to make sure that we leave, as the Bible says, we're going to leave an inheritance for our children's children. Right. I'm going to show you, Arthur, how we can put something in place now over those next 40 years, since you're going to be here till 103.
Yeah, 103, maybe 123, but
so that's good, because the insurance company to 120. So we take this money right here and we put this in place for you, so that when your grandkids turn 40, they the trust fund kid.
Right.
they getting college paid for.
Right.
They ain't got to worry about if they get a scholarship or not. My grandpa took care of us.
Right.
Granddaughter decides to get married. Grandpa already took care of that for us.
Right.
Your kids are multimillionaires. Like, people don't understand, like, this is just math.
Right.
It's really just math. Like, if I say, hey, you know what, Arthur? Look, I can get you $250,000 for $100. There's no other investment you can ever make for $100 that in 30 days a week could pay you $250,000.
Exactly.
Period. You have to win the lottery for that, and your odds are 1 in a couple billion to do that.
Exactly.
And that's not what I want people to count on. What I want them to count on is what's tangible. This is what we can do. We can take $100 and we can put it and get X amount of dollars of coverage, and it's still leveraging $100 versus this amount of coverage.
Right.
I'm not saying pay $100 a month and you'll get $100 in coverage.
Right.
And because of the fact that we cannot predict all the things that could happen,
right.
not death necessary, but the heart attack, the car accident, the injury, the serious illness, the stroke, the cancer, the being diagnosed diabetic,
right.
COPD, ALS, MS, all these different things can happen and we can't predict them.
Right.
And we cannot prevent them outside of diet and exercise.
Right.
So what we want to do is we have to leverage what it is that we can control, which is putting something in place that protects our family.
Right.
And we leverage that against the bank's money.
I like that. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And I was actually speaking with the infamous, the world famous Jack Trey from Status Network. But I was mentioning to Jack when we spoke earlier, and you mentioned that something happens and it's not a death, and if you need to accelerate some payments for 12 to 18 months. And I was like, Jack, I never knew that, man. I never even heard of that before.
Yeah.
And he was fortunate enough to but he's an entrepreneur. He's out there. So, he's had an opportunity to look at things like that. But many of just average, everyday Americans probably had no idea, unless it is a whole life policy, that they're going to go take some money out and try to get some money or something like that. Had no idea that there was something in place like that from a policy.
It's called living benefits.
Okay.
So the purpose, I call it the gray area.
Okay.
You've got a policy at the post office that in case of your death,
mm-hmm.
it's going to pay your family X amount of dollars.
Right.
Well, what happens if you end up in an accident, but you don't die, but you can't work?
Right.
But you're seriously injured? Right. What happens if you have a major stroke? You can't work. What if you had a heart attack? These are things that happen all the time.
Right.
Like 1 in 4 that have a heart attack, and the first sign of the heart attack is the heart attack.
Right.
50% of those people don't come back; they die.
Right.
Another fact, the number one killer of people between 21 and 45 is an accident. Not a car accident, just an accident.
Wow.
The number one killer of people between the age of 21 and 45 is an accident. So the gray area is your jobs are not going to cover you if you end up sick or seriously injured.
Right.
They're
Unless
not.
you got some type of sick leave on the books, and at some point that's going to get to zero.
Absolutely. They're going to say, you know what, hey, we'll give you a week off.
Right.
Then you can take up your vacation time.
Right.
We'll give you 1 more week.
Right.
But what if you've got to travel for treatment?
Right.
You're like, this is the purpose of living benefits. So the way living benefits work, let's say I'd like to use $1 million because I encourage everybody to have $1 million in coverage. If you're going to get term, get $1 million.
Right.
Get $1 million. Get as much as you can afford,
right,
based on your needs, and then outside of that, look into a some type of whole life or universal life product like an IUL, where you can be covered to age 120, but it's basically going to force you to save some money. Part of the policy is going to be your life insurance. The other part of the policy is your forced savings. You're forced into investing.
Okay.
And the reason that's important is because we already know that 78% of people live paycheck to paycheck. That means
exactly.
The whole buy term investor difference thing, it ain't happening. Yep. It's a great model. It's great to say it. And I love Dave Ramsey. He's not the only person that says it.
Right.
But it's great if people actually do it.
They actually apply it and do it right.
Yeah. So because they're not, we have to say you have to put something into a forced savings plan where you're going to get some interest on your money. You're going to be insured. You're going to be insured your whole life. And that's a much better product anyway.
Right.
But the living benefits is also part of that product. Living benefits says in case you get sick, you can have you have what's called an accelerated death benefit rider.
Okay.
So let's say if you got $1 million, you sustain some type of injury or illness, and you decide you want to accelerate 50% of that policy. Mm-hmm. You have to file a claim. The insurance company has to look at what the incident was, how much they think it's going to impact your life, and then they'll come back with the offer. Now, if they accept the offer for 50%, what they'll do is they'll say, hey, we'll give you $500,000. Now, they may accelerate up to $500,000 and you lose the rest.
Right.
But for some people, that $500,000 right there might be what they need.
Right.
They might need that to pay the house off or
That's
make
what I was
some
going to ask.
investment.
Is it a lump sum or is it spread out over a period of months?
You can take either or. For a chronic condition, you have the option of taking a lump sum or to take monthly payments.
Okay.
Typically with a terminal illness or a critical illness, people are going to lump sum because there's something major to take care of. Like,
right.
I need an
Medical
organ
bills,
transplant,
right.
medical bills. I want to pay
Right.
the house off. If you're diagnosed with a terminal illness, you have less than 12 months.
Right.
Some companies say 9 months or less. Some say 15 months or less. But they know they're going to pay you anyway.
Right.
So now it's just a matter of, if we can save a few dollars, if we can give them $750,000 or $800,000 instead of a whole $1 million.
Right.
Most families going to say, we'll take it.
Out on top. Right.
Absolutely. They come out $200,000 on top. And people got to understand that the life insurance game is a business.
Right.
It's absolutely a business. Just like car insurance is a business for people. Health insurance is a business.
Right.
But we have to look at what are we asking. Like we're saying, hey, I want you to put insurance on me and give my family $1 million, and all I'm going to pay you is $200 a month. People don't understand the amount of risk
right.
that an insurance company is taking.
Right, because they could potentially be $200 in. Something major happens.
Absolutely.
And now they got to pay up $1 million on the back end.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely. They're never going to get $200. They're never going to get $200 a month from you to add up to $1 million.
Exactly.
It ain't gonna happen.
Right.
So the way the living benefits work is it allows you to have access to the cash in your policy without you dying. They're living benefits. And that's something they just started doing probably in the late 80s, early 90s. But that's something that everybody really needs to see. You all got to look. You can Google living benefits. You can Google living benefits, and you'll start to see how these benefits work. I'm probably going to post a video after the show tonight just so that people can start to understand because, look, that's where the real value is. Like, term is great if you're young and you're on a tight budget and you got 2 kids and a mortgage and cars and student loans. You get a large amount of term insurance because they expect you to live a lot longer anyway.
Right.
But when you start getting older, you have to start looking at something that's going to start giving you a return on your investment so that you're not stuck at 45, 50, 55 trying to figure out how you're going to come up with $500,000, $600,000 to retire.
Right. I love it. Well, so much information. I definitely, absolutely know we're going to have a part 2, part 3, part 4.
Absolutely.
Because I am loving this. I mean, even in the interview, every single time, whether at Shanita's event, whether just in the conversation this morning or watching your Facebook Lives, I've always learned something and been able to take something away. So that's good. But tell everyone how to get in touch with you. How can they follow you on social media?
Text King Arthur. I'm just joking.
Bam!
All right, so my phone number is 404-437-0188. You can also email me for any questions or quotes at Cornell.McBride Jr. That's JR@gmail.com. And before we leave, I have to thank my amazing wife for letting me come out here tonight. She had a garage sale today, and she was extremely tired. And she was like, "You really have to go tonight?" I said, "Baby, I got to get the message out.
Gotta put the word out.
I got to put the word out."
Gotta reach my people.
I want to thank her for allowing me to come out. I want to say, got to give my shout outs. Thank you to my niece, Tara, for coming over, helping my wife with the garage sale. Her best friend, Kelsey. Congratulations, Kelsey. She just found out that she was having a baby. Congratulations. My wife's best friend. My wife's best friend, Melissa, that came out and helped out today. And I want to leave you all with this. The longer you all wait, to get something in place to protect your family, the more risk you take. Like when I talk to people on the phone, there's no excuse that you can give me of why you need to wait. Mm-hmm. If you've got something and I can tell you, oh man, you're in good shape, then that's great. And that's not a sales pitch. That's like, look, you guys, if you don't think insurance is that important, stop paying for your car insurance.
Exactly.
Stop paying for your car insurance. If you don't pay for your car insurance, you leave the house scared. You nervous. You don't want to get caught at the light with the cop behind you. You look at you hoping that people don't hit your car. You nervous. I'm like, that's a car.
Right.
You gotta take it more seriously when it comes to your wife that's in the car, your kids that you drop off at school, your parents. Like you all, this is the easiest way to transfer wealth from one generation to another. And when I say wealth, you all, I'm not saying that you all have to leave your family $1 million. Right. I'm saying if you left your family, if you left $50,000, if you left $100,000, the difference that can make in your family for a generation, it might kickstart somebody's business.
I was about to say.
It might start it might buy somebody a house and might be the first property they go into flipping.
Right.
Real estate. It's leaving them something that they can benefit from generation after generation, rather than your parents didn't leave you no money. You got to pay for that. You ain't gonna leave your kids money. They got to pay for that. Right. It's like we working in reverse.
Exactly.
And we've got to be more proactive. You all, look, there is nothing more important than for you all to learn how money works. And we're having an event. Can I mention our event?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, you all. On Saturday, we're gonna do this once a month. We're gonna try to do it the third Saturday of the month. Myself, my business partners, Reggie and Cindy Moon from Eclipse Realty. What's up, Moon family? We're gonna do a financial workshop called Conquer Your Finances. Conquer Your Finances, I think it is. On the third Saturday of every month, and it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be absolutely awesome. See here.
So that'll be the 15th.
Yep, Saturday, September 15th. I apologize, I just said it. My wife texted me. Saturday, September 15th, and I'm double checking because I had. All right, y'all. Okay, here it is. All right, it's called Conquer Your Financial Future. We changed the name, so I'm sitting like, I'm gonna make sure I say it right.
I gotta get this right.
So it's Conquer Your Financial Future. We're gonna do it on probably the second or third Saturday every month. And it's basically a financial intelligence seminar and workshop. And we wanted to put, Cindy came up with that, financial intelligence. We really wanted to put that word to play because everybody knows how to go to work. Everybody knows to get a check. Everybody knows how to spend the money.
Right.
Dumb as hell when it comes to money.
Exactly.
We just for those of you that don't know, you need to Google compound interest.
Yes.
You need to Google compound interest. The rule of 72
I was about
tonight.
to say the rule of 72.
You all got to all right. So for you all in compound interest, I did an event the other week, last weekend, and I put on a board and I said, you got a $10,000 investment at 4%. How long will it take for that money to double? How long do you think? You probably know. You do know.
Yes. Hold on. Carry the one. 18.
That's it. So that's it, because I forgot I didn't do that. So you all listen to that. So it takes 18 years for $10,000 to double to $20,000. So check this out. You're having a baby. Baby's born. You decide I'm gonna put $10,000 in a bank account. At 4%, when that child is ready to graduate from high school, you've only made $10,000. You put $10,000 in for 18 years.
Didn't touch it. Just left it alone.
All you made was $10,000. That's terrible. That is a terrible rate of return on your money.
Every 18 years.
That is a terrible. It breaks down to like $63 a month. You done tied up $10,000 for $63 a month. Now check this out. This is where we get them at. Check this out.
Right.
You owe $10,000 in your credit card. Your credit card interest rate is 18%. Guess how long it takes that $10,000 to double to 4 years.
Exactly.
Y'all got $10,000 in credit card debt. That $10,000 turns to $20,000 in 4 years. You just gave them $10,000 in interest.
Wow.
in 4 years. $2,500 a year in interest.
Without just because they don't want to pay it off. We're just gonna keep floating.
Minimum payment.
We're gonna
Minimum
float it.
payment.
Yep.
Y'all
We'll
look.
skip a month. We'll pay a little something. Minimum
Look,
payment.
y'all
again.
need to Google Rule of 72. There's a video with a little black girl with a yellow shirt on. She is freaking phenomenal. This little girl's like 5 or 6 years old, man.
Wow.
Dude, the commercial of her, and I say that because she looks like us.
Uh-huh.
Her explaining the Rule of 72, it is off the chain.
Wow.
Off the chain, dude. It's off the chain. But hey, man, I
Hey.
appreciate your time tonight. It's Friday.
I know. I'm
This
glad
was-
you came
it's
out on a
powerful,
Friday
y'all.
night.
September is Life Insurance Awareness Month.
Absolutely.
If you love your family and you truly love your family, if you truly love your family,
Not love them like a play cousin, but truly
love
your
you got to
family.
put something in place to protect me. You got to stop procrastinating. You got to stop giving yourself excuses and reasons. You got to stop it, y'all. You got to stop it. We're leaving our kids and our grandkids, y'all, worse than we are now. Like you really can't make the money that we can make now in 2018 and have no reason not to leave your kids wealthy.
Leave them something.
Like before, like our parents and grandparents had to deal with
They
segregation to
straight-
get off the bus.
Exactly.
I mean, oh, it's so bad. And right now, we can go do anything just about now.
Right.
And make money and leave an instant estate for our kids, you all. You gotta take advantage of the opportunity because we don't know what's gonna happen in 5 years from now, y'all.
Right. Hey, I'm telling you, this is only part one.
Yes.
So we will be.
This is gonna be a
continued
series.
To be continued because I'm telling you, and we just hit like the tip of the iceberg tonight because we wanted to at least get the wheels turning, get you guys to start checking out. You know, follow Cornell, see what he's posting, watch some of those whiteboards when he gets to breaking down stuff.
Yes.
Or how I bought my wife this car or how I did this. I'm like, wow, he did that in how long? You know, so all of that type of information is out there. And with that, we're going to wrap up part one. This is Real Talk with King Arthur, and I had the privilege of hanging out with Cornell McBride,
Man, I appreciate it, sir.
insurance professional. And you see, it's not all about insurance.
It's about education, y'all.
Exactly.
It's about education.
Financial intelligence. I like that.
Yes, sir.
Thanks,
Oh,
man.
man, absolutely, man.
All right.
Y'all have a
And
great weekend.
Stay tuned till the next time.